Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn about the text styling in CSS. Text is a fundamental part of web design and how you style it can greatly affect the readability and visual appeal of your website. We are going to dive into the different CSS properties you can use to control the appearance of your text from font size and styles to alignment and spacing. So first property is font family. The font family property allow you to define the typeface for your text. You can specify multiple fonts as a fallback mechanism. The font family property is where we set the typeface of our text. This can range from specific font like Time New Roman to generic font families like monospace. It is important to include multiple fonts as fallback in case a user's device does not support your first choice. We can add multiple font families. So if this is working on my machine, then it will be we can add multiple font families. So on the user device support, it will choose that one. The next property is font size. The font size property controls how large or small your text appear. You can use units like pixels, px, ems, or rems, but we will use the px. And so font size is crucial for readability. Like the font size property allow you to set the text size in different units depending on the design requirement. Pixels gives you absolute control, while EMs or REMs are relative and offer more flexibility for responsive design. The next property is font weight. The font weight property adjusts the thickness of the text, allowing you to emphasize or de-emphasize certain word or phrase. Like font weight is used to control the boldness of your text. You can use keyword like normal, bold, or numeric values ranging from 100 to 900. This property is particularly useful for creating visual hierarchy in your content. So let's try it and add normal, bold, and numbers. Okay. So the next property is font style. The font style property allow you to italic or oblique your text, adding a different stylistic effects. The font style property is typically used to italic text, which is often used for emphasize or to denote title or foreign words. Let's add here italic and oblique. So see the difference between italic and normal text. The next property is text transform. The text transform property control the capitalize of text. It is useful for creating consistent heading styles or emphasizing certain words. Text transform is a handy property for controlling text case. You can use it to ensure all headings are in uppercase, capitalize the first letter of each word, or making text entirely lowercase. So let's add it here S2, text transfer to uppercase and then capitalize and lowercase. Check it out. Next property is decoration. The text decoration property add underlines, overline, or strike through to your text. It is commonly used for link and special formatting. And text decoration is often used to add or remove underline, but it can also be used to create strike through or overline. This property is especially useful when styling links or indicating outdated or incorrect information. So let's add the links in our HTML page, in our HTML file. Then we will be apply the styling and change the text decoration to remove the underline. So see the difference between, like, here is underline is removed. Text transfer decoration is remove the underlined. Next property is line height. The line height property sets the vertical space between line of text. Proper line height improve readability, especially for longer passages of text. The line height property controls the spacing between the line of text, which is crucial for readability. A well-balanced line height ensures your text is easy to read, especially in paragraph. Like if we want to add two and more paragraph and we want to add the line, and it will be affect the different line heights on paragraph. A line height of 1.5 is a common choice for body text, providing enough space to read comfortability without the line feeling too close or too spread out. The next property is letter spacing and word spacing. Letter spacing controls the space between individual letters, which can help the readability or create stylish effects. Just like we implement the line height. So line height is between the lines, but the letter space is between the letters. So, and another is word spacing. So, what is mean by word spacing? Just like the letter spacing and line height, here is word spacing. Like in the between words, we need to add the space. Adjust the space between words, which can enhance readability or can be used for visual design, right? Letter and word spacing are subtle yet powerful tools in typography. Adjusting the spacing between letters can make text more readable or give it a unique style, while word spacing can help balance the text on a page. Here is just added letter spacing and word spacing. Text alignment. The text align property align text horizontally within its container. Common values are left, right, and center and justify. And this property is we mostly use this property text alignment because if we want to like show the text to left side and want to show the text to the right side and center between, then we will use this property text alignment. The text alignment is a fundamental aspect of text aligning. Whether you want to align your text to the left, right, center, or justify it across the pages, text align gives you full control.
The next property is position property. So position in CSS the position property determines how elements are placed on the web page. It gives you control over the layout and positioning of elements. There are 5 different values you can use: static, relative, absolute, and fixed and sticky. Let's break each one down with example. Static positioning. Static is a default value for the position property. Elements with position strategy are placed according to the normal document flow, meaning they follow the order in which they appear in the HTML. You can't control their positioning using top, right, bottom, or left. Here I add the div, and in the div this is a statically positioned element, and another tag which is p tag. This paragraph follows the div in the normal document flow. So let's see. Here the div is positioned according to its place in the HTML, and the paragraph follow it naturally. Like I set the div to position static and background light blue, and here is the difference between that according to its place in the HTML. Let's set the positions to relative. Relative positioning means the element is positioned relative to its original position in the document flow. You can adjust its position using the top, right, bottom, and left property. Like here in the div, let's set this style position to relative, and the div is moved 20 px down and 30 px pixel to the right from where it would normally be. Notice that the space originally occupied by the div is still preserved in the document flow. Next is absolute positioning. Absolute positioning removes the element from the normal document flow, and it is positioned relative to its nearest position ancestor, an element with a position value other than static. If there is no such ancestor, it is positioned relative to the initial containing block, usually the HTML or body element. Like in this case, the inner div is positioned 10 pixel from the top and 10 pixel from the right of its parent div, which is position relative. The absolutely positioned div is removed from the document flow, meaning it won't affect the position of other elements. Next is fixed positioning. Place the element relative to the browser window. This means it stays in the same position even when the page is scrolled. Here the div is fixed at the top of the browser window, creating a header that stays in place as you scroll down the page. Notice that the paragraph has extra top margin to avoid being hidden under the fixed header. The next is tricky positioning. Is a hybrid of relative and fixed positioning. The element is treated as relative until it reaches a specified scroll position, when then it becomes fixed in place. The sticky element behaves like a relatively positioned element until you scroll it to the top of the viewport. Once it reaches the top, it sticks there as you continue scrolling. Z-index property controls the stack order of element. Elements with a higher z-index appear on top of those with a lower z-index. Only elements with position relative and absolute, fixed and sticky can use z-index. By default, all elements have z-index of auto. So I positions box 1 to absolute and z-index to 10, which is higher, and box 2, which is position absolute, z-index 5. In this case, dot box 1 will appear on top of box 2 because it has higher z-index. The float property allows you to position an element to the left or right of its container, letting text and inline element wrap around it. Left, the element float to the left. Right, the element float to the right, and none, the element does not float. Here I set the image to float left and margin right 10 px, allowing text to wrap around it. The next property is Flexbox. Flexbox is a layout model that makes it easier to design flexible and responsive layout. It is particularly useful for aligning an item in a row or column. Here is we set the display and flex, turn the container into a flex container, and just we have to define the direction of flex item row and column. Justify content is align the item horizontally, flex start, center, and space between, and align item vertically, flex start and center and stretch. Here I set the container to display flex, justify content center, align item center, height 100 vh. This center the content both vertically and horizontally within the container. The next property is CSS Grid. CSS Grid is a powerful layout system that allows you to create complex design easily. Display grid, turn the container into a grid, and grid template column and grid template rows define the structure of the grid. Gap define the space between grid item, and the grid column and grid row allow you to position the item within the grid. So here in the set in the container, I set the display grid and grid template column to repeat 3 1 FR and gap 20 px. So in the item number 1, I add the grid column 1 half and 3. We create a 3 column grid with equal width column. The first item space 2 column because of the grid column 1 and half 3. For handling the responsiveness of our website, we use the media query, and media query allow you to apply different style based on the screen size or other conditions, making your site responsive. The most common usage is with min width and max width to target different screen size. Here we just need to add the rate media, and in the bracket we have to add the minimum and maximum width, but here we will add the maximum width 600 px and calibrate it, and in this container we will add whatever we need to show on the smaller screen. We will add here. So if we already set the flex direction to row, but in the small screen we have to display in the column section. So just we need to use the dot container and then add the flex direction to column. Then here change the flex direction to a column on screen smaller than 600 px.